Okay, so next morning, and what we have going on here, everything's ready to come out. All we have to take out right now is the two engine mount nuts and ready to lift it out. I need to take a pry bar and pop that CV axle off on the inside. That one's already done. Um, Everything went pretty good. Nothing was real hard to get to. And taking the collector bolts off, the exhaust, they all snapped off except for one, and that one actually rounded the nut. And that's not a big deal, at this point. I'm going to take the engine out. But the one that rounded off, I couldn't break it off. So I had to cut with the Dremel, air hammer, this and that. And finally took a pair of vice grips and broke it off. Just trying to physically break it off, and finally did. And so that's that. Now, what we're going to have to do here, we're going to have to lift it up just a little bit with the cherry picker, and then there's still the wiring going to the water pump. As we lift it up, we'll have to fish that through, and then as we lift it up a little bit, we'll probably take one bolt off on the power steering lines to separate that out. I think what I'm going to do here, I need to run to Lowe's today, or maybe Menards, and I'll get a divided container for bolts and just for N52 stuff. And we'll save like the cam sensors, the knock sensors, just like all that stuff, right? All like a whole assortment of bolts. That's all stuff that we're going to use. We'll save whatever extra pulleys and idler pulley and tensioner pulley and all that crap. I think it's the best way to do this. And maybe we'll clean out one of these totes up here, specify that for N52 stuff only, and we'll save a lot of that stuff. And so that gives me an advantage in the future when I work on this stuff. I have extra bolts, extra sensors, extra stuff to diagnose stuff, or you drop a bolt, it's not the end of the world. That being said, I think the only hard bolt to get out on the whole thing was that top transmission bolt back here, and we just used 11mm wrench to get it out with. And this is the bolt right here, and it has the e-Torx head, but you can't get a ratchet up there to get it off, or the impact. So what we did, we just took 11mm and put it on like so. And this is actually a 12. Let's see. Yeah, it's actually a 12 point, because I didn't have a 6 point, right? But the 12 point gets a little extra leverage to have more clicks to turn it right. And I couldn't break it loose in my hand. I was at the wrong angle. So I just put a pry bar up there and tapped the pry bar with the handle and hit the wrench and broke it loose. Once I did that, I could turn it out. Ultimately, you get to the point to where you can turn it with your fingers. So that's it. I'm just ready to get this engine out of here. This car needs to be pushed out. I'm ready to take a freaking shower. I feel like a skank. That's the way it is, but there's no reason to do that if you're just going to get dirty again. So that's what the plan is. I'm going to go ahead and get this thing out of here, so let's go ahead and do it. Alright, so here we are. We got it out. It wasn't that bad. It is a lot more work taking it out like this, because everything's kind of hard, not hard to get to. If it wasn't four-wheel drive, this would have been out yesterday, no questions asked. I ended up pulling the driver's side engine mount off, which that's fine, it's not that big of a deal. And I had to take the stub out of the front diff on the driver's side. I needed to take it out of the passenger side, but I couldn't get it out easily. So I thought, well, wait till I get the engine out of the car, then I'll take it off. I'll take a hammer and a pry bar and just knock it off there. And then, so what we're going to do here, also I might add, the wiring is way easier to stay in the car. There's hardly any wiring on this car. That sounds like that's crazy talk, but there really isn't much of any wiring at all. Have a plug going to just the starter alternator. There was a plug going on the bottom to the oil pan to the level sensor, and then we had, where is it at here? This plug goes down to the water pump, and we just took that off. It's way easier. It didn't have to open up the ECU box or nothing. We might still check that for water though, because you never know. Then as we were raising it up, I just took the power steering line off the pump as we were raising it up. Really everything else was good. We had to take like I just said, we had to take the driver engine mount off because it would not clear the steering shaft. So, yeah, right now, if you had to replace the rack and pinion, would be the time to do it. But it looks like it's not leaking. I'm sure we'll reserve that leaking for after we get the engine back in. Sounds like it's raining. I don't think it is. I think the door's open. The place smells like old gas and broken dreams. So we'll let it air out a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and just finger back together the front end of this thing, and then we only need to push like 20 foot. Maybe those CV axles will stay there without the deals falling off. I don't know. Probably not. We just need to roll it out of the shop, and then once we get it out of the shop, today or tomorrow, I'll get some purple power or simple green or something. We'll hose this thing down. We'll degrease the whole engine bay because it's freaking nasty. And right now we could get everything clean real easy. So we'll go ahead and do that. The transmission is hanging down pretty low. Just seen that. The transmission mount is still on it. Maybe we should have tied it up. There's nothing tied up too. So that's how that goes. Overall, not too bad. If you have the room in your shop, definitely drop the whole cradle with the transmission and transfer case on it. We just didn't have the room. There was barely room to get it out like this. So that's going to be it for today's video, guys. That is the E60 all-wheel drive, X-Drive engine removal. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll be back very soon with the engine reinstall and the part swaps. We'll see you later.